9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to the Sacred Division. And now, here is your host, Bishop James Long.
I tell you what, that was very strange indeed. I didn't understand what in the world. It just decided I wasn't going to work today. It was like the computer said, "No, we're not going to do that today. No, that's okay." So, all right. Well, I think we're going now, and I think everything is just fine. You know, one of these things you just never know. You never know what's going to happen with technology, but it looks like everything is working perfectly fine now, and so I am very happy about that. And welcome back, everybody, to the Sacred Division. Bishop James Long here with you. We're going to have a really good conversation today, and I promise you guys, we got a lot to cover. I mean, it is a lot to cover. 24 hours goes by so fast. Before you know it, it is here. And needless to say, you all know probably that the Senate right now is getting ready to vote on whether or not to convict Donald Trump and say, Donald, you got to go. You got to leave the presidency. So that's actually supposed to be happening, I believe, at 4:30, unless they've changed it. You never know. Honestly, you never know when they're going to do that. And it's kind of like, well, you know, as the old thing is, you know, you put your thumb in the air and you find out where, you know, what the wind is blowing, which direction. So we'll see. But a lot has happened in this time since we've had our small little break. And most of you guys know that yesterday was a State of the Union address. And so we'll briefly touch upon that. But I want to remind everybody again that Monday through Thursday shows are world events, current events, entertainment news. It could be anything, reviews, just a conversation, basically. And Fridays are strictly paranormal, 100% Friday paranormal. So it's Paranormal Friday this Friday. And I'll be talking about demonology and possession and a few of the cases that I have worked, and just kind of like an overview of basically my life within the paranormal community. So if you want to tune in this Friday, that would be perfect. And then, of course, we're going to have guests on as well for Friday. And we'll periodically have special co-hosts that will jump on board with us during the Monday through Thursday show as well. You know, kind of get a second point of view. So it'll be special guest. I think we might have Miss Wilma on tomorrow. Might. So we'll just have to see if her schedule is clear, if she has no doctors or anything like that. So if she's good to go, then I think I can talk Miss Wilma into joining us tomorrow. So, and believe me, if you listen to what Miss Wilma's got to say, I'm going to purposely pick topics that get under her skin. And I'm going to find topics that say that Donny Osmond is not a very good singer, and war will absolutely occur. Now she'll declare war because of that, because Donny Osmond is Saint Donny Osmond to her. So I'll find some type of a review that someone says that they didn't like Donny Osmond, or I'll talk about space and the millions and millions of dollars that we're spending on space and space exploration. And I'm sure she's going to have fits about that because she's got a lot of personal opinions on space exploration and how much money we spend. Needless to say, she's not, you know, she said, fine, you know, if we want to go to the moon, that's fine, but we got to leave that alone. Just leave that rock alone. So we'll have to, I'll have to find topics specifically to get her dander going. And we'll do that tomorrow. And here we go. Let's jump right into the, what recently happened, of course, yesterday. Most of you know, social media blew up. I mean, it was all over the place. It was even on the news, MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, they all covered it. And you know and I know what some of you are thinking right now. You are definitely thinking that this topic that I'm about to bring up, if you look on Facebook, I mean, I kind of scrolled through Facebook briefly today, and there were lots of comments. And some comments were, well, they were pretty, well, you get the point. Nancy Pelosi, you knew I was going to go with this, but Nancy Pelosi rips up Trump's, quote, dirty State of the Union speech. Now, I saw this. I saw it. I watched it yesterday. And people say, well, he kind of ignored her, didn't shake her hand when she reached out and that kind of thing. But here's the article. And so we'll talk about the article first, and then we'll discuss what you think. Aidan McLaughlin is the one who wrote this. It's in Reddit. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tore up a copy of President Donald Trump's speech at the conclusion of his State of the Union address on Tuesday night. The event was marked by concurrent spectacles. Trump's speech, a typical cocktail of hardline immigration rhetoric and boast about the economy, also featured the president awarding a schoolgirl with a scholarship, presenting Rush Limbaugh the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and reuniting a military family. Pelosi also put on a show, according to this author. After Trump appeared to snub her attempt at a handshake, she was animated. She was an animated presence behind the president during his 90-minute speech. She shook her head at times, and at one point, when Trump claimed Democrats want to grant health care to undocumented immigrants, she twice mouthed, "That's not true." And then at the end of the speech, Pelosi tore up her copy. When asked by ABC News reporter why she did so, Pelosi replied, "It was such a dirty speech." Now, there's a lot of comments on this. I mean, some of the comments, this is a comment here about a half hour of President Trump discussing his accomplishments. She realized that her party has done nothing the last year, and it's going to be tossed out in November. That's one comment on this particular article. Another person says, based upon the scowl of Nancy's face, I think she hasn't had a This is terrible. But yeah, this is what this person says. Based upon the scowl of Nancy's face, I think she hasn't had a movement in quite some time. Taking a cue from her face, she should probably add some prunes to her diet. Ouch. Ouch. And now, of course, another person said, hold on, to be fair, Trump dissed her first. And then he said, it was awesome. He walked up, and as he was about to hand her the speech, the TV folks said that he had to talk to her. And I said, no, he just had to hand it to her. And sure enough, he did. He did that and turned around, and she stuck her hand out. This person said, loved it. The left deserves back what they give out. Seeing Democrats and the MSM so depressed usually means good things for the USA. And in the case, it is that the Democrat hoax impeachment is at the end. And it goes on and on and on. There were a lot of comments. I mean, some of these comments were really, really vicious. So, okay. I got to tell you something. When Trump came up to the podium and he gave the speech to his vice president and to Nancy Pelosi. Now, this is from my angle, from what I saw. I did not see Trump shake Mike Pence's hand either. So I didn't see him shake any of their hands. What I saw is that he came up, he gave them the speech, and he turned around. Now, according to the video that I saw, and again, this is what, I'm not saying pro or against Trump. I'm just telling you what I saw. That once he gave Nancy Pelosi the speech, she took it in both hands, and he turned around pretty much immediately facing the audience. And then she reached out her hand, but she was reaching out her hand to his back. because he was not facing her, at least from the video, again, from the angle that I saw. He was not facing her when she reached out her hand to shake his. So now this is just my personal belief. I don't know. He didn't shake any of the vice president's hand, Mike Pence, or Nancy's hand. So I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Was it a personal snub? I don't know. All I know is that he didn't even shake his own vice president's hand. Okay, so I do want to point that out, to be fair, right? To be fair here. So, but there were some, I got to tell you something, guys, and this is not a Democrat bash or a Republican bash or anything like this, because I'm a moderate. I will be the first one. I used to be a Republican. But I have just seen some things, that the hypocrisy there, and I just don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like what I see at all on the in the party. I just don't like the route that I'm seeing. So for me, I consider myself to be a moderate. I'm not a liberal, and I'm not ultra conservative. All right, I'm just not. There are things that I stand for that are considered liberal. There are other things that I stand for that are considered conservative. Right. So I just consider myself to be moderate. And the thing is, when I watched it last night, it looked, and I'll say this too, the crowd looked the same as they did when Barack Obama was giving his speech as well, State of the Union, meaning that when Trump was giving his presentation, the Democrats just kind of looked and sat down and scowled, and they just kind of had this mean, angry look on their faces. And now, keep in mind, to be fair here, the Republicans did the same thing when Barack Obama was the State of the Union. So let's be fair here. All right, if I'm going to call out the Democrats, I have to call out the Republicans too, because they did the same thing. Okay, so I think that's fair. I think that's fair. But it just seemed like there were things that Trump was saying yesterday that just made a couple things that just made sense. It was common sense. And it was like, yeah, we want to support the military. We want to support the military families. And there were things that he was saying in the speech that the Democrats refused to stand. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. Come on. Enough with this. And there were several times. That he had said things, and the same thing goes for Barack Obama. So I want to make that very clear. So I don't want anyone to say, "Oh, Bishop Long, you're just bashing the Democrats." No. This is the same thing for Barack Obama too. But it just, the politics is just so disturbing to me. It really is so disturbing when you have representatives of the people. Remember, they're working for us. I don't think. People seem to forget that. They are working for us. They're receiving tax-paying dollars for their salary. We are paying their salary. Therefore, they work for you and for me. And when I see representatives, again, when Barack Obama was doing it on the Republican Party, the same thing for the Democrats. And when the president just says basic stuff that we have to value human life. And that's what he said. The Democrats sat there and I'm thinking, of course, he was talking about abortion. And he was saying about how he wanted to outlaw, or he wanted to make a long-term abortion, late-term abortion. He wanted to make that illegal. Now, I'm just going to say this, and maybe because I'm a priest. I'm a priest first, before a bishop, before anything else. I'm a servant. But I don't understand how anybody thinks it is okay to have an abortion when you're 7 months pregnant or 8 months pregnant. Again, this is not Democrat or Republican, okay? How is that okay? Really, seriously, now we're talking about we're talking, and I understand the mother's rights, and I get that argument. Okay, I understand that, but the argument then becomes, well, there is a heartbeat, right? The baby is formed. I mean, by 7 months, by 8 months, I mean, we're talking about completely formed here, right? And so when Trump said he wants to make late-term abortion illegal, and the Democrats just sat there, I just thought, you got to be kidding me. I mean, who in their right mind thinks it's okay to have an abortion when someone is 7 or 8 months pregnant? This is why I got to tell you guys, this is why the Democrat Party drives me crazy. Because on some social issues, I absolutely say, yes, that's spot on. That makes sense. A gay marriage. To me, it makes sense. And not because I'm a gay man. I'm not talking about that. It just makes sense. It's separation of church and state. But to advocate and condone killing a fetus in the 7th or 8th month of pregnancy, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. If you condone that, I don't understand you. I don't get it. I don't. Father Thomas says, I think she should have rose above the bull, but it's the pair that had been set for all par that's been set for all today's politicians. And as you said yesterday, the world is watching. It's true. And Father Thomas also says he was born 8 months, so he would have been murdered. See, so anyway. What I'm trying to say for those of you listening on other platforms, because there are people who are listening to the show on other platforms besides Spreaker and Facebook. This is also on YouTube. But what I don't get, what I don't understand is why people think it is okay for having an abortion at 8 months. And why the Democrats would not stand up and applaud and say, yes, you're right about that. That goes too far. That goes too far. So that's why the Democrat Party, to me, it seems to be, they're going so extreme to the level. As a matter of fact, I remember watching when Barack Obama was nominated for the Democratic Party. He was the nominee. And he was going to give a presentation, give a speech, his acceptance speech. He would come out. I remember this like it was yesterday. And CNN was reporting that there was a very large group of people that were wanting Barack Obama to remove God from the prayer. And I remember this reporting. And Barack Obama said, no, we're keeping God in the prayer. And it was a huge fight, argument, I guess you could say, in that setting. And they were really, it was pretty serious. And so finally Barack said, no, we're keeping God in it, and that's all it's going to be. But that's the problem. That's the problem. It's like, another example is when Trump said that he thinks that there should be a constitutional right to where children should be allowed to pray in public schools. The Republicans stood, and the Democrats, they sat on their butts. I'm thinking, again, is this the Twilight Zone? Why wouldn't anybody, I don't care if you're a Democrat, moderate, independent, why wouldn't everybody stand up and say, yes, I agree to that? If you are a child and you are in school and you want to pray before school, you should be allowed to do that without getting in trouble. When I was going through school, I went to a magnet school. It was a public school, but it was magnet. They were very strict on academics. But we were allowed to meet before school as a group to, pray and do it like a morning prayer. And that's what we would call it. So we would it was a bunch of people, Methodists, Catholics, Episcopalians, non-denominational Christians, but we were all there and we prayed and we had that opportunity to do so. And we never got in trouble for that. We were allowed to. But now in many school districts, you can't do that. And I know because I'm a substitute teacher. So I know for a fact that kids are not allowed to do this. I'm just thinking, why wouldn't the Democrats stand and at least applaud and say, yes, Donald Trump, on that point, I agree with you. We should have a constitutional right. Kids should be able to pray before school starts. Again, the Republicans applauded. The Democrats sat there. And I thought, you know what? There's something wrong. And here's the deal. I'm not the only one saying this. I'm not the only one saying that there's something wrong there with the Democrat Party. Many CNN anchors who are well-known, several of them are well-known Democrats, strong supporter of the Democrat Party, which is fine. But even they have said on their shows that they're going too far to the left. They're just going too far. And even they question the electability of a Democrat nominee against Trump because it seems like the party has just gone too far to the left. Deborah says, Deborah, it's snowing there in Chicago. I'm jealous, Deborah. I am so jealous. You know, it was 65, almost 70 degrees actually here the other day. Unbelievable. 70 degrees. Deborah says it's sad the president unfortunately cannot be trusted to tell the truth, which is so sad to say because we should look up to the president. I agree. You know what? I don't care if the president is Democrat or Republican or independent. I want to be able to look at my president and say, that's my president. Now, I may not agree with everything that he or she says, and that's okay. But I want to be proud of my president. And there are some things that Donald Trump does just stupid. I mean, just really stupid. And again, I'm not trying to pick a fight here, but there are just some things. It's like, dude, just relax. I don't like the fact that he attacked the individuals who went forth, who went public, and who had to testify to Congress because they were subpoenaed. So they had to testify, and they were under oath. So if they're being called in by Congress to testify, they have to go there. Otherwise, they'll be in contempt. They can get arrested for that. That's serious stuff. So they showed up, and they were under oath, and they testified. The Ukraine ambassador, she's a Republican, and when she was telling her story about what she thought, and then Trump just bashed her. I mean, and of course he got her fired. But that's not cool with me. I mean, this is a person who has spent her entire life in service to the community. And she had a stellar reputation. I mean, stellar reputation. Honest, fair, a good person. And for everything that I've read about her, she was top notch. And then to go public, to attack her on Twitter, that's not cool. And that's not presidential. And I think if we just forget politics for the side, if we just forget party affiliation or support, I think we can all look at that and say, yeah, that's not cool. It's not presidential, and it's kind of stupid. And it makes the country look bad. Now, because I will tell you, I teach online. Sometimes I teach students in China English. I have a master's of education, so I teach them. And so sometimes in the lessons, the company creates maybe political presentations, PowerPoint presentations, not for or against a president or a party. They just say, Donald Trump is the president of the United States, or Nancy Pelosi is, whatever. It goes on and on. But every time that I mention Donald Trump, the response from the students who are in China is this. Or they respect his business, they respect his tenacity, they respect his pro-America because they understand that, but at the same time, they laugh when they go on Twitter and they look at some of the things that he says, and when he starts doing name-calling stuff, and they say that that's not presidential. Because that's why I told you the other day, the world is watching. And it truly is. I have students in Russia. I have students from Spain. I have students all around the world when I teach them English online, and I'm telling you that the world is watching. They are watching CNN. They are watching the State of the Union address. And when Nancy Pelosi tore up his speech, I thought, you know what, grow up, lady. Just grow up. I understand you don't like President Trump, fine. But to sit there and blatantly tear it up, you just looked foolish. You looked foolish because the world is watching. You are the House Speaker. You're the third person. You're in line of lineage there as far as the presidency, and you can't. Well, I don't understand. Why would, if you don't like it, that's fine. But you have to understand, the world is watching. And when you sit there and you tear up the speech because you want to protest or throw a little tiffy because you didn't shake your hand, get over it. I mean, because there were, number one, I understand she didn't like his speech. Okay, fine. Fine, you didn't like his speech. But there were things that he said in that speech that were very respectful. And the speech reuniting the family, the military person, the soldier and his wife. And of course, and whether you like, and this goes to the next thing, Rush Limbaugh. And I understand that there's a lot of people who do not like Rush Limbaugh. I've had the opportunity to speak to Rush Limbaugh, and he was very cordial, very kind to me, very respectful. But I will tell you this, that when he was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom, this man has advanced lung cancer. And quite honestly, he really does look bad. So Donald Trump awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which, by the way, that's, for all intents and purposes, that's a very respectful award. You got to understand, the Presidential Medal of Freedom is awarded by the president, okay, for especially really wonderful contribution to the security or national interest of the United States, world peace, cultural, or other significant public or private endeavors. This is a very distinguished award. Now, some people don't like this award, but you got to understand, there's a lot of amazing people who have received it. So, I mean, in many of the categories, Tom Hanks, Robert De Niro, Robert Redford, Steven Spielberg, Meryl Streep, Doris Day. These are some of the people that have won. Cecily Tyson, which is my amazing actress. In literature, Maya Angelou received it as one time. Elvis Presley, Bruce Springsteen, Diana Ross. I mean, so there are. I could go on and on and on about the amount of people who have actually received this award, and it's in all types of categories. So it is an award that is given to someone for just distinguished work, that what they have done, given back to the community. And by the way, it's interesting. I saw this online. President Barack Obama has awarded 123 of these medals, and that, by the way, is the most ever. And then Ronald Reagan handed out 102 of the medals. So I think we have to understand that it is an honorable award. And Deborah says Rush is horrific. The medal should go to a military member. Rush has there were times I think that Rush goes way too far to the right, way too far. And I wish that he wasn't so extreme with some of his views. And unfortunately, he is, which causes him to lose a lot of listeners. But he's doing very well himself. But we're going to take just a very quick break. I promise you it's not going to be long at all. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about, coming up, Mitt Romney. Wow. Mitt Romney just voted. And my goodness gracious, can you believe that? We have several other things as well to talk about. And there's one thing that I know Thomas, who's in the chat room, he's going to really be interested in this story when we come back. It's about a priest. And, don't go anywhere.
Bishop Long, as seen on Ghost Adventures, the History Channel, National Geographic Channel, and many more, is proud to announce his online demonology course. Students can take the course at their own pace, and it's 100% online. Bishop Long is the exorcist for the United States Old Catholic Church. He holds a Doctorate of Ministry, Masters of Education, Masters of Divinity, and a Masters of Business Administration. Sign up today by going to www.demonologyclass.com.
The Sacred Division is proudly sponsored by the United States Old Catholic Church, an all-inclusive Catholic sacramental faith community. For more information, check us out on the web at www.usocc.org. The United States Old Catholic Church, focusing on diversity.
Have you ever had the desire to join a progressive Benedictine community? A community that welcomes everyone, regardless of gender, marital status, or sexual orientation? Have you always felt a deep calling from God to live as a Benedictine, but doors are slammed on you because you do not fit the right profile? If you have experienced these unnecessary roadblocks, then I invite you to take some time and visit CatholicBenedictines.com. We are a Benedictine community that welcomes everyone, and we embrace diversity. We have valid apostolic succession, and we are committed to living the life of a Benedictine. You have prayed diligently about your calling, and now God is answering. Email us today at CatholicBenedictines@gmail.com, and let's begin your journey together.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Sacred Division. I kind of left off with a little teaser about, of course, Mitt Romney. If you've watched today, February the 5th, if you're watching or listening to the show on podcast a little later, Mitt Romney came out today publicly and stating that he was going to vote for the removal of Donald Trump from office. And boy, I tell you what, man, I can't imagine the inner turmoil that he must be struggling with right now. And actually, he said Mitt Romney didn't want to go through with it. And he said, quote, "This has been the most difficult decision I have ever had to make in my life," he told a reporter yesterday in his Senate office. Roughly 24 hours later, Romney would deliver a speech announcing that he was voting to convict President Donald Trump on the first article of impeachment, abuse of power. For weeks, the senator from Utah has sat silently in the impeachment trial alongside his 99 colleagues, reviewing the evidence at night and praying for guidance. The gravity of the moment weighed on him, as did the pressure from members of his own party to acquit their leader. As his conscience tugged at him, he said the exercise took on a spiritual dimension. Romney, a devout member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, described to me, the reporter, the power of taking an oath before God. And he says, quote, "It's something which I take very seriously." Throughout the trial, he said he was guided by his father's favorite verse of the Mormon scripture that says, "Search diligently, pray always, and be believing, and all things shall work together for your good." He says, "I have gone through a very process of a very thorough analysis and searching, and I've always prayed through this process. But I don't pretend that God told me what to do. In the end, the evidence was inescapable. He said the president did, in fact, pressure a foreign government to corrupt our election process. And really, corrupting an election process in a democratic republic is about as abusive and egregious an act against the Constitution and one's oath that I can imagine. It's what autocrats do. I tell you what a powerful decision. I again, knowing that he is going against the Republican Party and his colleagues. But he did the right thing because, and whether you like Mitt Romney or not, the fact is he stood on his principles. And because he took his oath that he made in the very beginning of the trial, the Supreme Court Justice Roberts required them to they all took an oath saying that they were going to take it seriously. And he did. A lot of people these days, when they take an oath before God, it's like, symbolism. As one reporter said, well, it's just more of a symbol. No, it's not a symbol. You're taking an oath before God. And the fact that he did that, I tell you what, was just absolutely powerful. And so, I just got notice now that Trump has been acquitted. So of the trial, and I look, when all this stuff was going down, I knew what was. I said this several months ago, and several people got mad at me. Oh well, and I said this is what's going to happen, and this was before the Democrats officially impeached him. They were looking into the impeachment, and I said this is what's going to happen. The Democrats run Congress, they have the majority, and they're going to vote to impeach Donald Trump. And then it's going to go to the Senate. The Republicans control the Senate. And when the trial starts, the Republicans are going to vote to acquit. And Trump runs again. And I even went a step further and I said, at this point of time, from what I see in the Democrat Party, of the people who are running against him, I think Trump will win re-election. And I guess that's what people didn't like. because right now, honestly, I just, you gotta look at the numbers. And whether you like Trump or not, he has the popularity. He has the numbers. I mean, his percentage rate right now is pretty high, really, really high. And so I just don't see it. I mean, and again, I got to tell you guys, Pete Buttigieg sounds like a nice guy. He's an intelligent man. He did well in some of his debates. And from what I understand, he won the Iowa caucus. And that's great. And then Bernie Sanders came in second place. But here is the concern that I have. And this is just my personal opinion. Again, as I said the other day, as a gay man, I'm telling you this is my opinion, that I do not believe that America is ready right now, at this moment, to put in a gay man who is married to another man as president of the United States. I don't think, and again, you can disagree, and that's okay. And that's fine. I'm more than happy to entertain any type of disagreements. But in my opinion, I just don't see it. I don't see it. So I don't think he's automatically, you got to understand, Pete Buttigieg is automatically going to have the evangelicals against him if he becomes the nominee. And whether you like it or not, evangelicals are a very powerful movement and very wealthy. And they have the numbers. So let's not forget, got to think it's numbers right now. We're talking about number game here. I mean, whoever has the most votes as far as electoral college wins. That's the math. And so I don't think, because of the evangelical movement is so strong financially and with the numbers, I just simply think that he would not be able to get the numbers he needs to beat Trump. As far as Sanders is concerned as well, from all the polls that I have read that are not biased leaning, and what I mean by either strong for Democrat or strong for Republican, I have not seen any polls. As a matter of fact, I've seen just the opposite. Polls that are right down smack in the middle, that are not in favor of either party, and Trump, just utterly destroys Sanders in many of these polls. Now, of course, if you have CNN or MSNBC polls, you might have Bernie Sanders ahead of Trump. Well, that's biased. Okay, so I don't look at biased polls. I just don't think that Bernie Sanders has. I don't think he has, because he's so liberal. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but because he is so liberal on so many ideas, he's automatically isolated himself from moderates, and that's where I think the pull is going to be. Deborah says, can I talk about my homeless ministry? Yes, actually, I can. And she says, I'm a liberal Democrat, and I would vote for Mitt Romney. Yeah, it's wouldn't it be interesting? I said in the chat room earlier, wouldn't it be interesting if Mitt Romney just decided, you know what, I'm going to go switch to Democrat. I'm going to jump in the presidential race right now and go against Donald Trump. That would be a heck. Now you have a race. Seriously, if somebody like you, I just don't see it in the Democrat. I don't see it, guys. Maybe you can help me with this, but right now, from the field that I see, and I'm not the only one who's saying this. There's a lot of even Democrats who are saying they just don't see anyone there who has that it factor, who they think can beat Donald Trump. And I got to agree with that. There's no Barack Obama. There's no even Hillary Clinton. I think Hillary Clinton could give him a strong, hard fight. I don't see it there. I don't know. Sorry, but that's just my opinion. I do not see that happening. One thing that I want to talk about here, because Father Thomas will be very interested in hearing this story. One of the things that I firmly believe in, whether people agree with me or not, that's their right. But I think that if you are a priest and if you molest children, you should never, ever be allowed to be in public ministry again, ever, under no circumstances. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Listen to this story. I can't believe this. This is on CBS News. Priests on sex offender registry find a home in alternative ministry. Father Jamie Forsyth has always felt his purpose was to be a priest. He pursued that calling even after he pleaded guilty in 1989 to a charge of attempting to take indecent liberties with a 15-year-old boy in Kansas, serving time in prison and being laicized. In other words, he was no longer a priest in the Roman Church. He was officially removed from the priesthood by the Catholic Archdiocese of Kansas City. Forsyth, then in his 30s, was released from prison after less than 4 months of his 1 to 5 year sentence and eventually found work at Metropolitan Community Church of the Black Hills, a progressive Christian church in South Dakota that primarily serves LGBTQ worshipers. Forsyth was ordained within the Metropolitan Community Church denomination in 1996, according to the Rapid City Journal, began working at the Black Hills Church in January 2000. But when the congregation discovered in 2002 he had failed to register as a sex offender in the state, he resigned from his post and made his way to Wilton Manors, Florida. And that's where Forsyth found a job at Holy Angels, nestled in a strip mall between a tapas bar and a Peruvian restaurant. It is part of a church system called the National Catholic Church of North America, but it's not affiliated with the Roman Catholic Church. Forsyth was hired as a priest there in 2005, according to the church. The alternative diocese is home to about 200 parishioners in 7 parishes in Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Washington, D.C., allegedly. Similar to Roman Catholic faith, the church's website states it adheres to the 7 sacraments and the sacred tradition, but also stresses a message of inclusion. It ordains women, married people, and those who identify in the LGBTQ community. It says that nobody is denied Holy Communion or a chance to be part of the religious community. A welcome extended even to those with sexual misconduct in their past. Forsythe, who's now 65, offered an explanation for his past child sex abuse in a phone call with CBS News, stating that he was a very unhealthy person in an institution that was unhealthy for me. The young man I was involved with was just like 2 months shy of his 16th birthday, so that makes it okay, of course, which would have been in the age of consent in Kansas of that time. But that is neither here nor there. Then why did you say it? Forsythe said, God doesn't make mistakes. What I see now is that my past experience really makes me a much more compassionate person. No, it makes you a sick individual who likes to have sex with underage children. That's what it makes you. So in other words, this individual has joined the old Catholic Church. You know, people say to me all the time, well, we have to forgive mistakes. No. Wait. Hold on. Mistake is that I ordered the wrong steak. A mistake is that I ordered the wrong drink. That's a mistake. When you purposely reach out to a 15-year-old child, and I don't care, James Allen Forsythe, that he was just a few months shy of his 16th birthday. But when you reach out to a minor for the sole purpose of having sex with them and you are an adult, you are a predator. It infuriates me. It infuriates me. Because these are the 15-year-old is going through puberty, is going through changes in their life, and the last thing they need is someone that they looked up to, a priest who represents Christ, the church, the faithful, to make sexual advances. It is appalling. I have no patience, zero patience and zero tolerance for anybody who reaches out to an underage child for the sole purpose of having sex with them when you're supposed to be an authority figure, a spiritual authority figure. And then he is given the opportunity to continue to do ministry with children. Are you kidding? What? Again, if this is liberalism, I want nothing to do with it. Plain and simple. If this is what being liberal means, then I want nothing to do with it. Again, for those of you who are liberal, I would love for you to tell me, because there are some people that would say to me who are liberal, who they knew that I was going to talk about this on air, and they said to me, well, James, you have to forgive. Where's the forgiveness? Okay. It's not my place to say whether God forgives him. If you go to confession and you confess your sins, I've never ever said one time that God didn't forgive this individual, but that doesn't mean we put them right back in the situation to where they're tempted again to make sexual advances towards children. I don't get it. Yeah. And this is what drives me crazy about the old Catholic Church sometimes. There is no excuse. In the USOCC, the United States Old Catholic Church, we have a zero tolerance. Zero. Not 0.00009. No, zero. If you have been convicted of molesting a child or trying to molest a child, you will never be ordained within the United States Old Catholic Church. Nor should you. I don't know. Okay, so Deborah says it's not okay, especially when people are vulnerable and searching for God. Amen, Deborah. And Deborah said that in the chat room, she says that she is a liberal Democrat. Okay, so that makes me feel better, because there are some people were arguing with me earlier today. They were saying, well, that's what liberalism, we forgive, we welcome everybody, but that doesn't mean anything and everything goes. So that makes me happy. That makes me very happy. I'm glad to know that there are liberal Democrats who say absolutely that's absurd. And Father Thomas says forgiveness is for the soul, but justice is for the victim. Zero tolerance. That's right. Absolutely right. You cannot. You just cannot push that envelope there. You just can't. I don't know. Maybe again, but. So today is, of course, Wednesday. Now, Thursday, we're going to talk a lot more about, we're going to talk less politics, I promise, on Thursday. Monday through Tuesday, Wednesday, it's really usually heavy on politics because there's so much stuff going on, especially now with the Trump impeachment. But now that it's over, I really want to get into entertainment news. And we'll be discussing the Oscars who are coming up, which, by the way, I saw the movie Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, and let me tell you, unbelievable. Just meaning that his perception, his take on the Joker was just spot on, because you really go in depth and you watch a man who has mental illness. You see him deteriorate rapidly because of social services being denied and his medicines being denied, which should never occur, ever, under any circumstances. And that's one of the things that we, as a country, we've got to do better on. We have got to do better on mental health. We have to do better, because we're just, again, this Democrat, Republican, I don't care who you are, but cutting funding for mental health is barbaric. It truly is barbaric, and it should never occur. People who are mentally ill have a right to receive their medications. They need their medications. They have to have that. It's not something that, it's not like, well, I just want to have a Coke today. No, this is something, it's a need, it's a necessity. And to cut funding for people, because the medications, as you know, they're so expensive that many of us can't afford. I can't afford many of these medicines. I mean, if you are on mental health, several of these medicines, thank God I don't take them. I don't have to have them. But if you did, I mean, there are some of the insurances don't pay for it. And so you can go GoodRx, which by the way, I need GoodRx to be a sponsor for this show, because GoodRx is amazing. Absolutely amazing. I use GoodRx. I have saved a tremendous amount of money with them, and thank God that they are available. Seriously, I tell you, if it hadn't been for GoodRx, I wouldn't have been able to get some of my medicines, especially my migraine medicine, because I suffer from chronic cluster migraines. And they're very, very expensive, incredibly expensive. So thankfully, with GoodRx, it's actually something that I can afford. And I'm grateful for that. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Oscars. And maybe tomorrow we can have a conversation about the Oscars and entertainment. I promise you, I'm gonna squeeze in those entertainment, because I like to do that. I like to. So tomorrow we'll have a little more of a relaxed show and less, go get 'em show. But we will talk about the Oscars that are coming up, and I'm looking forward to seeing that show. And who knows? Who knows if Joaquin Phoenix will win? But I tell you, he did a pretty amazing job. I mean, really, truly did an amazing job. So I really do hope that you guys have enjoyed this show. I don't know what happened when I started earlier today. For some reason, it was acting silly, so I had to stop, and then I had to restart it. But thankfully, everything is working now. It's just, I guess, a technology hiccup or something. And then don't forget, this Friday, we're going to be doing Paranormal Fridays. So we'll be talking about demonology and possession. I might have a few folks come in and talk online with you, and maybe some people who've experienced something themselves. We'll see how that goes. And then, of course, yes, and Deborah and I appreciate that. And I do tend to forget to promote my own ministries. And one thing that I do that's been very, very important to me is my homeless ministry. And I've been doing this for a long time. Way before I even went to the seminary, I was very active in homeless ministry. Matter of fact, one of my first jobs was a shelter coordinator. I was a shelter coordinator for the men's shelter, for the homeless shelter. And that was in the 90s. And so this is something that I have been very passionate about. And what I do is I go to homeless camps in Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. And I pass out food and clothes, maybe tents if I can buy them, or sleeping bags. And I pass that out to the folks there. And so people always ask me, well, why do you do this? And why don't they just go to a homeless shelter? Well, number one, many homeless shelters are crowded, and they're in some states they're so crowded there's no space, and they turn people away. Many people, they turn them away. Also, you have to understand that when you go to a homeless shelter, there are rules that you have to follow. So when you're homeless, you usually have some type of weapon with you, because if you don't, you can get hurt, even killed. I mean, there are some people, unfortunately, that go around, they pick on the homeless, they beat them up, and they put it on YouTube, and they think it's funny. And unfortunately, they get clicks. People click. They want to watch, unfortunately, these people, beat up a homeless person. I don't understand that. But the problem is they have a weapon. And when they go to a homeless shelter, they're required to turn in that weapon. Well, that is their protection. That's their lifeline. They can't call 911. So many times when they leave the next day, unfortunately, their weapons are not returned. Many of there's theft that occurs there. And so they do not receive their weapons back. And so many of them would rather just stay with a group of people, have weapons, and their safety in numbers kind of mentality. And that's why a lot of people do not go to the homeless shelters, because they know they have to turn that in. And they don't want to. And I understand that. And to obtain another weapon is very difficult and sometimes costly, too costly for them to do. So remember, they're homeless. And so they don't want to give that security blanket up. And I understand that. There are many people that I have met who are homeless, many great people, a lot of veterans, some people with mental illness, many people with substance abuse. But I don't care if the person has substance abuse problems or if they're a veteran. I don't make any judgment. Meaning, when I say I don't care about that, I don't make judgment against them. I care. I want them to get the help. But I'm not going to sit there and say, well, you have a substance abuse problem, so I'm not going to give you any food or water. That's absurd. When I go there, I give them as much as I can. And it's all self-funded, 100% self-funded. So I have an online course, demonologyclass.com or paranormalcourse.com, same thing. And 100% of those profits, the proceeds, goes into funding that homeless ministry, as well as the people who donate. If you just want to donate, you can go to bishopjameslong.com and you can donate there. And again, all that goes to the homeless ministry. Now, if you want to donate directly on PayPal under friends and family, that would be better, because then PayPal doesn't take any fees out. And you can just go on my email address, Bishop J, the letter J, Long, Long, @yahoo.com. So bishopjlong@yahoo.com. And if you make a direct donation there to under family and friends, again, PayPal doesn't take fees out. And that way I can use more of those funds to help people. People often tell me, well, why don't you make a video of you going to homeless camps and passing out food and clothes? Because I don't sensationalize this. And number one, and I'm not going to put a camera in front of someone's face who has just received something and tell them, now say something for the camera. I mean, just come on. And not only that, but you have to understand, cameras really are not welcome at homeless shelters or homeless camps. And the reason being is because many of them do not want the politicians, the local politicians, to know where they are. Because once they find out, they have a tendency of closing them down. So they're very transient. And so when you find them, they don't want it to be known where they are. And I get that. I understand that. So that's one of the things. But I've been doing this for a long time. It's a passion of mine, and it really is something that I feel strongly about. So please consider helping if you can, and spread the word around about this podcast. That's very important, because, again, we let everybody know about this podcast. That way we can get more listeners and we can reach more people, and I would absolutely appreciate that. And, of course, we can maybe one day get sponsors who could sponsor the ministry so that I wouldn't have to constantly have to worry about fundraising all the time. So I do appreciate you passing the word out, letting people know about the show, and, of course, letting people know about the paranormalcourse.com or demonologyclass.com. All right, my friends, have had a wonderful time. Again, it goes by so fast, and we'll see you guys here, right back here in 23 hours actually. So don't go anywhere at all. Don't leave the state. Don't leave your home. Just wait in great anticipation. Tomorrow we'll have a lot of fun. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.